Oh, well, happy Thursday midday. I'm so
Happy
glad to be
Thursday.
joined today by my friend and colleague, AJ Barse. I'm Meg Weber. I'm the Director of Executive Education for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Western Washington University. And this is part of our speaker series, which is to highlight some awesome people in our community that are focused in on entrepreneurship and innovation. So AJ and I work together at Western Washington University, and he has been a super important part of our innovation and our work in entrepreneurship education. And his talk today is going to be a technologist approach to innovation and content creation in this pandemic. So welcome, AJ.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So good to see you. I see some people coming in and some people streaming in online on Facebook. So good to see you.
Yeah.
Hey AJ, why don't we start out with just an overview about what the heck an educational technologist is?
So if you see on my screen, I have both my personalities right here. So my first hat is over here at Western Washington University. I'm an instructional technologist. I manage the Student Technology Center. Basically, an instructional technologist, as I jokingly tell our lovely faculty like yourself, Meg, is we speak geek, so you don't have to. So so basically work with faculty and students and staff so that we can train on technologies that you can be better. I'm usually off the record. I usually say so that you can be more badass at what you do, or at least make yourself look better doing it. My specialty happens to be in production, so hence why I have fun stingers and stuff down below. Mostly it revolves around photography, videography, maker. Pretty much, I'm a tinkerer. If you give it to me and we make something, we do it. So yeah, so that's pretty much me in a nutshell on that side of the house. So. Yeah. Um, uh,
That's awesome. Those double whammy logos below you. That is so
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So gifted. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, the other side of me is other side. This side? Yeah. So it's mirrored for me, folks. So I'm watching a mirror of myself. So my left is my right. So the other side of me is I'm also a freelance photographer, entrepreneur, all of the things that you love to hear about and all that jazz. I do photography. I've been a photographer for almost 2 decades. Have camera, will travel. And I also do one half of the Bellingham podcast. My co-host Chris Powell and we've been doing that for about 4 years. So we're active in the community in broadcast. We're broadcast on KMRE 102.3 FM, community powered and streaming at kmre.org. And so yeah, like I said, I tinker. If there's anything that can be made or broken, and then we figure out how to make it better, that's my job. So that's me.
You also have a particular interest in some object that theoretically helps us keep time.
Yeah, so I am, I am what's commonly referred to as part of the watch fam. Basically, I'm a weirdo that loves what's called horology, or these wonderful time-keeping machines on our wrists or in our pockets. And that's just another community that I'm a part of, and a lot of my art and entrepreneurship kind of dovetails into that a lot. Yeah, it's just a subset of geeks that doesn't really get a lot in the main sphere of things. So yeah, so shout out to all my watch fan peeps if they're watching this. So yeah.
Awesome. That's so great. Yeah. So I've welcome folks as you're coming on in. So glad that you're here with us today. I've had the opportunity to work with you on our entrepreneurship class, and it's been super fun to see and experience your very innovative and entrepreneurial way of thinking through things within a system that, K-20 is pretty stated in the way that we do things. I wondered if you might talk a little bit about how you think through innovation and higher ed, maybe give a couple of examples of the way that you do that.
So okay, so yeah, in case, so I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit. As an educator, because first and foremost, that's what I am. Technology aside, I was an educator before I was a geek. My bachelor's, I got both my bachelor's and my master's at Western. Wood Ring represent. So my bachelor's was in K-12. So I was a substitute teacher, did a lot of bouncing around and taught lots of different wonderful little brains. And then one day I decided I wanted to teach the bigger brains. So I came and did my master's and did it in adult education or continuing in college education. So looking at the holistic like what andragogy, the study of adult learning, and that dovetailed into my technology side of things. But regardless, I usually make the joke. It doesn't matter if you're this tall or this tall. We're all learning. So with that, whenever we look at a fundamental enterprise such as the American education system, it's very much a Henry Ford model of things. We plunk a brain at grade K, and then you keep trucking along until K-12, and then magically you're supposed to know enough to go off and either get more higher education, or you know yourself enough at the ripe age of 18 that you know exactly what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Said no one ever. And so for me, like whenever we have the younger nuggets before we get the bigger nuggets, you know, we should be kind of showcasing like what life is as an adult, and what that is not defined as black or white. Like it is very much a gray area. There are people that, you know, once they graduate, they kickstart an idea, and that's cool. Or some people go off and get their doctorates and figure out cures to bugs like COVID, hopefully, sooner than later. You know, like, thanks for the finger cross. Yes. You know, like there are so many different walks of life. And I feel like in K-12 education, we kind of do a kind of a disservice. We don't showcase what avenues we can be when we grow up. We just say, when you grow up, what do you want to be? Well, like I used to think that I was going to be anything from a civil engineer to a cartoonist, and the gap between those two are huge. You know, like scaffolding it out a little bit and kind of showcasing, bringing in different avenues of different careers, so that students kind of, as they progress and they evolve in their personality and their discovery of who they are, they kind of have a little bit more of that gray area concept before we kick them out the door at 18, you know? Like I said, I was going to get on my soapbox a little bit, but I feel like, you know, in K-12, like all of us as educators, we kind of have to, you know, teach the reading, writing, and arithmetic, but also what life is. And I don't mean like we need to give them a reality check or anything. I'm just saying like we need to. It's kind of like when you're a little kid. Remember when you see your teacher outside of the classroom for the first time, your mind is blown that they're a human. And, you know, so often more than not, any child, when they grow up, they're like, they want to be like mom and dad. So like whatever that situation is, they look and they want to be like their parents, which is cool. That's totally great. But, you know, take my case in point, you know, neither my mom or dad is an educator or in technology. It was actually a teacher that kind of took me under her wing in my early days of junior high to high school. And you know, I wanted to be a badass graphic designer, you know, type of thing. And she kind of led me down the track of, you could do that, or you could, you know, take all that unbridled passion that you see before you. And I still was a little one and still had all that, and inspire other people to do that and teach them to do that. And I was like, well, cool. How do I do that? And she's like, well, you go get your teaching degree. Wait, you have to go to school to be a teacher? Wait, that's, again, mind blown, right? You have to go to school to teach. You know, like even as a junior high school, you know, kid, there's still a lot of things that about the outside life that, you know, a lot of people aren't exposed to. So getting exposure and showing our students like what different lives look like, what careers look like, and also the fact that you can change careers. Like that was also a novel concept. You know, it's not the 1980s and 90s where you're going to be stuck in a firm for 20 years and retire at your desk, chained there. You know, like nah, that's not what our world is anymore. You know, so there's my little soapbox, kind of roundabout way of getting to your question.
I love it. I see another badass graphic designer on here. Awesome, Amber. Shout out to you.
What up?
What up, Amber?
Hi.
Amber in the house.
Awesome Amber, yo.
We're all friends.
Cool. Awesome to see you.
Hi.
Oh, say AJ, one of the things that you do super well, both in coaching instruction as well as in your own life, is to get really crystal clear about noticing opportunities in the world and then like incrementally like making them happen. So both for us as like instructors, what does that look like to pivot our classroom, as well as like maybe you could give an example from what you do as some of your, side hustle, side gigs, in terms of like noticing an opportunity and incrementally like launching into it with like grit and excitement.
Incremental in me. You're probably the only person that says that about me, because usually my wife just says, you jump off the deep end. Like, that's sweet that you think I'm incremental. No. So because I'm an active freelancer, I often I'm kind of the boots on the ground. So for instance, if something new or budding, for instance, when crowdsourcing was just this novel concept that you could actually take an idea and field it across your community and whatever that community would be, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, and then either actively or passively getting a revenue stream from that, so that you can either A, turn that product into a reality, or B, as a creator, getting a revenue stream so that you can just continue to be a creator, and we saw a lot of those platforms: Indiegogo, Kickstarter, or Patreon. Shout out to Jack Conti, one half of Pomplamoose, he's the kind of the founder of Patreon, and that I got on that platform at an early start, and kind of trying to figure out, like, as a creative, like how I could just be like Jack and get paid for the stuff that I already do, as opposed to just getting hearts and thumbs, because those don't pay rent, especially in Bellingham, ever. So, I would go out and actually do those things and then come back to faculty, because, you guys are actively trying to inspire our students to go out and do it, but maybe you don't have those pathways, so I collaborate with you and be like, well, oh yeah, I've done it, and here's what I learned, here's what's kind of cool about it, here's what I would, if I had to do it all over again. That's kind of my main thing is, my colleague Chris and I from the podcast, we have the saying, we'll go first. Like, let us do it, because having a technology or a new system break on a geek, we're a lot more agile, we're a lot more flexible, resilient. We can make stuff up on the fly. Like, that's what we are, as opposed to you when you're in front of a group of 10, 20, 30 bajillion students. You guys can't have that luxury sometimes, because then maybe your students question you of like, and then why am I taking this class if you don't know? So like, that's kind of one half of what I do, and the other half is, as a freelancer, I've got to find a revenue stream. So that's what I do. So yeah, I share. I mean, the geek culture of sharing is prolific, and people like me just kind of do it often, whether it's in the classroom or on a forum or whatever. Sharing is caring, and I care about everybody. Amber for the awe.
So true. So would you walk us through like what one of the more interesting, or like, as you'd consider, more successful or challenging faculty related projects has been for you, and just like step us through what that pivot has looked like, both for your support and for the faculty member, as we're all like freaking out about what we
Wait, COVID has made us all be a little bit more flexible? I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so one of the things that I get asked a lot is, what do I do with my Adobe? Because when we're on campus, everybody gets access to Adobe Creative Cloud, but during COVID, that was a lot more of a hassle, because if you don't have big burly machines to do all the awesome stuff, and then on top of that have access to the software, what do you do? So a lot of what I look at is alternatives. I'm a big advocate of skills over software. So the fact that you understand the concepts of design, you understand the concepts of video production, the concepts of illustration, the fact that you're not just locked into an ecosystem such as Illustrator or Premiere or whatever. And bear in mind, like, I also am an Adobe L, so an Adobe educational leader. Like I work, I'm not against Adobe. That's not what I try to say. But an active creative, as well as an educator, I want my students to be able to look at a problem and solve for it using the best tool for the job. So during COVID, a lot of students were just like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do my photoshopping, or how am I going to do with whatever? So I would work with faculty to find out what the assignment is, AKA speak, not geek, but speak educator, and be like, yo, what's your learning objective? What are you trying to have them do? Because so often we get so complacent, and COVID kind of put a lot of stress. Like, oh my gosh, the only thing I know is this. I've been doing it for 10 years this way. Oh my God, I don't have access. What do I do? So finding alternatives. There's other apps that do the same. Photoshopping is a verb, but photoshopping is a brand. Like, it's like saying we Google things. No, we do a web search. They've done a great job branding what they do, but we've kind of gotten a little bit, I don't know, too much in the weeds of that brand affinity. Oh, I use the Adobe. No, well, cool. What can you make with it? Well, I can Adobe. Cool. I make photographs, so being able to work with you as faculty and be like, hey, you want to do this really cool assignment, that is all well and good. Well, there's the Adobe Spark kind of online apps, which are a little bit lighter weight, that will address the learning outcomes that you actually want them to do. And then for those that are a little bit more robust, like there's the Affinity clients, which are made by a company out of the UK known as Seraph. They've been around for almost just as long as Adobe has, and they make a competitive product as well that's both Mac and PC. And so I'm a big advocate of just use the right tool as a creative for the job. We shouldn't be fanboys of any specific thing, whether it's Windows or Mac or Adobe or Affinity. Like, you don't go after looking at a house and going like, God, I want the best hammer to swing while I build this house. No, you get the right hammer, right? So and having that conversation with faculty, because you all are stressed and panicked because you have all of this content that you got to do in a 10-week program, and having something as simple as, oh my God, my students don't have access to insert whatever it is here. I try to bridge that of like, well, that's okay. They still have computers. Here's what we could do, because it's about the learning objective, not the tool.
That's awesome. Yeah, and for us, moving our learning platform online was really super important. Mm-hmm. And so it's been super fun to have students on the WordPress site that you helped us build, and all have their individual blogs that they can do. Yeah.
I did that early. So yeah.
Would you walk us through, because I think the way that you think about a project of something like a website or substituting technology, just really getting to the core root of the topic at hand that you're seeking to solve for. If you were to give some like pointer questions or things that, as community members or faculty members, we could think about to like sort of structure our logic around what problem we're seeking to solve.
So the first thing is how much time do you have? Like, I think so often than not, we look at, I want to make, for instance, I made a publication called the Analog Explorer, and not to stump for my own thing, but the whole concept of that was to write an analog manifesto, which is ironic coming from a digital tech. And to produce it, well, obviously I have my own budget because I'm jump starting this, as print is not dead, but it does take quite a bit of capital to launch a publication with an ISBN and actually get it out. And so for me, like the deadline was, so it was about this time, about a year and a half ago, that I'd started that project, well knowing it's going to take me at least 6 months as an agency of one, as the producer, the editor, the everything. And a shout out to my wife, who actually was my copy editor, because, you look at the timeline, and so often than not, we see this on Kickstarter all the time. People have these grandeur ideas, and then when the rubber hits the road, delays happen. And so often than not, we don't prep for the worst case scenario. We prep for the idealistic timeline. And sometimes it's a little bit off. And part of that is we don't know. Like, we don't know unless we've done it before. But so often, when you look at a project, you got to look at how much time do you have and how much time do you honestly think it will take from soup to nuts. And then take that and multiply it by 2. Like, if you don't do that equation at the start, you're going to set yourself up on the wrong foot. It's the same thing with anything we see in video. A lot of people think like these content creators. Shout out to anybody on YouTube who's an active YouTube creator. You know, the content that you watch on YouTube that is 3, 5, 10 minutes long did not take 10 minutes to produce. Think about the drone footage that person had to do to get the establishing shots. Think about the gear that they had to either rent, beg, borrow, or steal. Don't steal gear. Steal gear from friends. So, you know, the sheer concept of tooling up, you know, the production ratio of doing just a simple video, a simple 5-minute whatever, a promo video, a let's cook, or whatever type of thing, you know, that five minutes of video took every bit of 5 hours just to prep, you know. And so thinking about the concept of time before you get into it, and then whatever it is, double it. And that's a good jumping off point before you get into a project.
That's awesome. Hey, AJ, one of my favorite things is the wizard show. So you might notice that as he moves back and forth, his background doesn't move back and forth. You might notice a certain like crispness to your audio, a certain like beautiful, like very good luminescence to your face. You do a quick showcase of your feet that's around you.
That's cheating. That is so cheating. All right, so I will unmake up myself just for you and all of our friends on Facebook, right? So yeah, so like I'm commandeering your stream by using a separate studio. So like I will first turn that off so that I'm back into Zoom land, and then I'll back myself out. So everything you see, I'm not in studio. This is a picture of Lake Wadcombe on the north end because I love actively hiking. What you don't see is I ignore the person behind the curtain because this is actually a green screen curtain. And so being able to throw up a green screen curtain in my child's playroom pre-COVID allows me to do this type of thing. But yeah, so let me go ahead and I'll switch cameras here and kind of go back to normal mode. And then if I were to take it one step further and not have a cool chroma green screen, now I'm down to this. And well, the goldenness that you see on my face, yes, was the tan before the rain happened today, but it's actually, I have a simple light with a diffuser, so I'm going to turn that off. And I'm just in front of a big window, by the way. That's my cool lighting, but now you see my shadows are back, and that's kind of lame. And well, if I go one step further, I'm using a Shure Shure MV5, which is the tried and true microphone of the Bellingham podcast. Shout out to my man, Chris Powell. So if I flip that off and I just go to like the build. What's up, everyone? This is on my 5-year-old MacBook Pro, and man, I do not sound radio ready. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, this is me unmakeupped. Yeah, you know, just a few bits and bobs. Matter of fact, that's literally a huge wooden rod that I'm spanning the length of my child's playroom to keep my green screen up and stuff. And yeah, a few bits and bobs of around the house can help elevate your production. So I'm gonna put some blush on here, get my microphone back on, and there we go. And yeah, this is something that I've been working on with our faculty and our students and anybody who wants to listen, because I kind of feel like in education we all have to elevate our stuff just a little bit if we want. I guess I take the stance of more of a content creator in this regard. Like, look, students that are coming up to university, they have a level of expectation when it comes to production. They've been seeing it for at least 12 years of their education system. It's called YouTube. So before they get to campus, we as educators kind of have to elevate our game just a little bit just to get to that level. And so that's what I work on, is what bits and bobs that we can use around our own homes, because you don't have to have a lot to elevate your production level. You just have to know, again, the concepts, no lighting, no miking, no cameras. And it doesn't take much. It just takes a little tweaks here and there, and you can get a little bit bedazzled and have that amber glow as you described to me. So yeah, I'm gonna put my makeup back on. Is that okay? Can I put my face back on?
It's okay.
Cool.
So I shared around a link, and I'm sharing a page from AJ's website that has so many practical and timely tips and shopping lists on how to upskill AV tactics, and just a lot of fun and useful content for us there. And I'll send that out in the follow-up email and in the Facebook thread. AJ, you're just like such a rock star, and I so appreciate your spirit and laughter. So I wanted to leave a couple minutes for some question and answer for folks that are, yeah, right? Stop that share.
So I guess one of my questions is, what's your elevator pitch? I'm just curious what you would say in an elevator pitch.
Oh man, it depends on what I'm pitching.
In an elevator pitch. That's what I'm curious what you would say.
Well, it depends. Like if I'm pitching for the Bellingham podcast, it's real simple. If you want two Bellingham aficionados that know nothing more than what a good cup of coffee and what the mountainside looks like in the morning, you have two gregarious idiots with microphones that will show up anywhere in the great 98225, 6, 7, 8, 9. You pick it. We go up on location with nothing more than two microphones and two iPhones to record a show. And we can be at your location as long as you have good coffee and you're on our goods list. So, it just depends what we're stumping. For me, it could be the Bellingham podcast. It could be the Analog Explorer, which is it is the analog manifesto against all things digital distraction. So for instance, as somebody who's traveled around the world, I've been to Japan, I've been to Europe, I cannot tell you how many times I have gone to the Mona Lisa and in the Louvre, and I will be the only one actually looking at the Mona Lisa. Everybody else is there, they're around, they're present, with their phones glued firmly to their foreheads. Nobody actually looks at the Mona Lisa. They look through it through the screen that they spent, $500, $600, $700, $800 on, and a $1,400 ticket to go to Louvre, but they never actually experience. And so the Analog Explorer was written so that to remind us to be present to what is the Analog Manifesto, and still be a content creator. So it just depends. It just depends on what the shtick is.
How many more do you got?
Okay, well, I already said, as a instructional technologist, I speak geek, so you don't have to, and that usually just sells it right then and there. Just sold. Tell me what I need to do. But yeah, no, I just my elevator pitch just depends.
Western right now?
Say that again. Sorry.
Are you currently an educator at Western right now?
I'm an instructional technologist. So yes, I am an educator, but predominantly in instructing tech. So.
Wait, like not a professor. What does that mean?
No. So instructional technologist? No, I am not faculty, even though I have a master's in education. I work with faculty. So think of me, I'm literally the person behind the curtain for your faculty. So they're the wizards, right? They're in front and they're the big ominous head of knowledge. And then in the background, I'm the ones that give them the knobs so that they can look that big.
Wizard of Oz head.
Yeah.
Her head.
If you give me a couple of hours in the green screen, we could do that. Okay.
I know we can.
Could totally just be like I'm totally doing this on Facebook. Ignore the person behind the curtain.
Okay.
AJ, quick, pull that switch. It's called Photoshop. No, just kidding. So, yeah. I like Harry Potter, so that's my invisibility cloak, yo.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yep.
Amazing. So can you stick around for a few minutes for some Q&A, AJ?
Totally.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for joining us for this Lunch Bite. This is part of our series, a speaker series, which focuses in on entrepreneurship and innovation. This upcoming year, we're going to offer 10 classes, including a 3-part series taught by Dr. Sherwood. Hi, Dr. Sherwood. Upskilling you on leading like an entrepreneur, and these topics of like grit and innovation and getting to the core of what's next to come for you that AJ was speaking of are very strong focus points of those programs. All right, you want to chime in for a sec?
Sure. Hi, how are y'all doing? Really good. Thanks, AJ, for being here. Good to see all the rest of you as well. Yeah, super exciting offerings coming up this next year. You know, the concept of lead like an entrepreneur is being able to really empower people to do their most innovation best, right? It's like how do you bring out this set of superpowers of creativity for people. And so we built this into 3 different parts. The first part being unleashing creativity, and how do you really get people to meaningfully participate. Then we roll into really trying to understand how we apply that to business modeling and to really build extraordinary organizations where people are able to cooperate and collaborate to really serve the needs of all the stakeholders that you care about. And then ultimately, you know, you got to get this stuff done. And most of us are part of an existing organization, or we, you know, even if we're starting a new venture, we're carrying the baggage of our past. And how do we do change leadership to really be able to take ourselves to the next level? So that's what it's thinking like an entrepreneur, leading like an entrepreneur is about. If you want to be an entrepreneur, that it'll totally work. If you're an existing leader of entrepreneurial or larger ongoing venture, government, schools, doesn't really matter. All of these will apply to you, and it'll be super fun. And you know, and these are just 3 of the 10 that we've got coming out next year, and we keep piling on new offerings all the time. So keep an eye out.
Awesome. Thanks, Dr. S. And AJ, this was so fantastic. I just love your entrepreneurial spirit and the way you see problems and opportunities and just kick into them in amazing ways. Amber, I'm curious what your pitch is.
Really?
Yes. Amber's an awesome Western alum who owns a design company. Awesome, Amber. She's been a guest speaker for us and really inspiring for our students. Super great.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a Western alumni. I kind of, long story short, did the 9-to-5 thing working for other people in the Seattle industry, working for design agencies, in-house designers at the big wig tech companies, and decided that I had more of an entrepreneurial spirit than I thought I did. So I slowly gained the experience needed to take my show on the road. So I learned about what biz dev was and how to write a contract and how to do, write a proposal and accounts payable and taxes. And I learned all of this. And now I own my own business. I work and live from home, making the salary that I want to make, being a stay-at-home mom. So I'm your branding marketing strategist. So I'm more than just a pixel pushing monkey. I have a brain and I think with strategy and sales and marketing funnels, and I can help businesses with their, branding and marketing solutions.
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Long story short, but what I do.
You can go to
awesomeamber.com. That's really not a joke. It's awesomeamber.com.
Yeah.
Radicorn.
I see some opportunities for, partnerships there.
I was kind of actually thinking it's really honestly weird to hear AJ because I'm an AJ and I grew up in sports with as an AJ. So it's really honestly strange to hear people call you that. Kind of my nickname as a child. But anyways, I do have some, I probably will take it offline, but I do have some extra questions about business.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today.